Durag Wisdom here, folks, and this is Earth Date Y2K 17.05.03. And today I have some good news for you. Most of the time I have bad news, negative news, pessimistic news, cynical news, and I'm sorry to say, folks, that that's just how I am. I'm a glass half-empty person. That comes from a lifetime of being stooped as daily and traditionally. But I do want to give good news when I can, and you know, the last thing I want to do is depress my subscribers. But these are depressing times. These are dangerous times. But the Geo Putins just had to accept a budget that screws them and screws Trump, at least temporarily until September. The budget they had to approve didn't include a wall, didn't include defunding Planned Parenthood, cutting the EPA, among other horrific actions that this scum and his party were going to take. And I'm going to tell you folks something. Why is it that they couldn't get their shit done? And again, you know, we got until September, and there are a lot of Rush Limbaugh Trump supporters. We're not talking about the people that voted for Trump because they didn't like Hillary Clinton and they weren't necessarily racist slime. We're talking about the hardcore Trump supporters are very upset now. They're calling into Rush Limbaugh, who's also upset. They're saying, "Why do I vote for Republican? Why do I vote for Republican? If they don't get the things done, they have control of this, they have control of that." And Rush was very upset, you know. No wall this time. One guy said they should close the government now. You know. Asshole Trumper birther bastard said, yeah, a government shutdown would do us some good. And this from the same guy who thinks that Andrew Jackson, who wasn't even around during the Civil War, he thinks that Andrew Jackson would have stopped the Civil War from happening because, as you know, slave owners should be able to own their slaves like Andrew Jackson did and kill all the native peoples of this country as Andrew Jackson did, because Donald Birther Bastard Trump is a birther, stinking scum who's supported by a Russian oligarch gangster who would be very happy with a Handmaid's Tale world. And an Ingsoc world, a 1984 world. But they didn't get their way, folks. They didn't get their way. This budget really screws them. So, who should take credit? Not the Democrats. Because, see, the Democrats haven't learned their lessons from this last election. Because, you know, they put in charge a corporatist in charge of the Democratic Party, you know, the DNC. And of course, I'm sure that in 2020 they're going to run the biggest, greatest, middle of the road to the right or slightly corporatist that they can find, so that these creeps can rally their forces and bring us another Trump for another 4 years, which would destroy this country as far as I'm concerned. It's already helping to destroy this country. But you know, it wasn't the Democrats, folks. The Democrats didn't help. It was you. You did it. People protesting. The pundits are saying that what's happening, the protests that are happening all over this country all the time, that is what stopped them. That's what stopped the GOP, because they're cowards, they're scum, they're hypocrites, and they don't want to lose their seats in the 2018 midterms. They don't want that. So all these protests that you folks have been doing out there, the Indivisible movement, when these creeps come home to their constituents, you're in their faces. If it wasn't for you out there protesting, writing, getting into their faces, indivisible, this guy's agenda would have been halfway through already. He would have already done his worst. And by the way, he's already done with the Supreme Court justice. I mean, if that's not the worst, I don't know what else is. But he is still working. This party is still working. The Geo-Putins are still working to undermine every program imaginable. And they will do everything in their power to hurt us. So it's up to you, as you've been doing, and you've been doing a good job, to keep being active. Because the pundits are saying you folks are the most active generation since the 60s. And that, by the way, is a... I want to make you think it's a compliment, but, you know, my generation, who were in the 60s, we didn't follow up. And you folks are going to have to follow up. Because when you have bullies in your lives, dictators, hypocrites, scum, like the birther bastard Trump Putin, when you have shit like that in your life, you got to always be in their face. You got to actively stand up, as you're doing, because if you stop, our country is gone.